Hello, welcome to another part of the building tool. So we're gonna test out our roof system now into Unreal Engine. So this part is again mainly if you are interested in bring this to Unreal, there might be a few steps left. So currently we have our tool. What could also be interesting is to make another interface here for roofs in case you would like to turn this off or on or have like interesting toggles. So that might be interesting to do here as well. It's just here, go to assets, open our properties and go to parameters, of course, make another folder and we can call this for roofs. We might could rearrange the folders because they now go from like patterns to data tables to roofs, but yeah, you can play around with that. So what I found interesting to do is to make it, to turn this on or off. So if we go here down where we're going to merge all these things together, I'm probably going to use a switch node to then actually turn this on or off. So the default value is then actually a null node, or the first input should be a null node. So we're going to switch here this direction. This is then basically representing an empty. So this just means that there is nothing in here. So here, maybe let's turn this on by default. So we're going to just grab it over here. We can just call this enable roof. And this is going to be, instead of an integer, it's going to be toggle. I'm going to press apply. So now if I would go back to my tool over here, I should now have a roof setting and a toggle to turn this on or off. So with that, we can again like build multiple sliders and values if you want to then, for example, increase the thickness of the border, if you want to play around with UV scale, if you want to have like multiple options to have like here a border as well. So this is the moment where you start to like expand the roof system more and more. So what I think could be interesting is to just like place maybe another UV transform here, like an overall UV transform. So on each side here, we have like this UV settings and data, but it's probably a good idea to like make like a global UV transform. So what I will do here is I will actually just grab the scale because I'm not sure if the scale is going to be good enough for what my material has, for example. So I can quickly change the scale. So scale of UV. Going to press apply. Then this value is going to get linked and we're going to just basically now copy paste this into the other slots here. So they're all just 111 and linked by the value. So for now, I'm probably going to keep the menu as this, quite simple. Now, before I jump into Unreal, there was one more thing that I also mentioned in the last video. So here at the roof, we now have sort of like these two shapes. So even though my boxes here are intersecting and sort of like merged into each other, I want to have the roof to be like fully created over this. Here we can do like a cleanup phase or like some sort of like fusing phase. So this is quite always interesting step to do here before you plug your data in the tool, because of course what you will do here will also reflect on what the output will be of the tool. So for us, what is quite easy now is to actually use a fuse. So what we're going to do is after the cleanup is done, we want to fuse this, but I want to actually fuse based on the grid spacing. So what that will do is it will always nicely align, as you can see, it will nicely align the cubes a little bit. It's not too much into that direction. So you can play around with the value. You can even use some vex to create your own grid options, but by default, this can give us a really good result. So you can increase the spacing value, which is also, again, might be useful for the people who are using the tool. So they don't have to necessarily be super accurate. So the tool just takes care of being a bit less accurate. Then we can plug that in over here. And now you will see that we will have different results. So we still have like the building shapes like that, but our roof will probably look way different now. So our roof will now actually have 3 primitives. And that actually makes sense. If we look at the roof data here, we can see we actually have 3 primitives because of this middle one. So what you can do is you can either do another cleanup here, like we did here, like with the dissolve flattened edges, or we could also do a cleanup over here, or we could actually rearrange the order. So we actually need another like flattened edges. And then actually, as you can see, we'll make the primitive actually one big n-gon shape. So this one is actually maybe not fully needed anymore. As you can see, it doesn't do much because we will do it here anyway. So what we will now get is this roof shape. So this is now one big roof shape. And of course, as we made the system in last video, it's going to choose for the base style because this is a more complicated shape. So we're going to go for the base style roof. So if you go with this style, you can see that our system for that is not fully yet optimized for that. So you could try to make some improvements on this yourself to have like better shapes. But for now, I think it is interesting to know that you can actually, for example, have different logic on different inputs, which can be quite useful. If you're not sure about how the data comes in, we can switch on things, of course. So with that all set and done now, let's go and just again make sure your tool is saved and let's jump into Game Engine. So now in Unreal, I have Houdini Engine ready, so it's linked and ready to go. I'm just going to click Rebuild and then we should see a result. And as you can see of the result of my tool, I have now this basic roof shape like that. So that's already working. So I have the basic geometry there. And the only thing that of course needs to be fully implemented is here I would like to have, of course, a certain roof model. So here I already have these roof models ready. So again, if you watched last video, we have a small, medium, and large piece. So if I would quickly grab them here, so we have this one, and this one. So we have 3 different sizes. So what I now need to do is I need to actually go into Houdini and sort of like link this in the background so my tool knows how to use them. So if you've never used instancing before, what we're going to do is we're going to, for example, select the smallest asset for now, or just any asset. And we're going to right click and we want to have a copy reference. So we are just basically getting a location of where this is stored. Then into Houdini, we're going to have to jump into our tool. We're going to have to jump to where we are going to set here the part, so this style. And here we need to have these instances and we need to paste them over here. So here I'm not going to paste these meshes. So this was for the small one. Then I'm going to go back to Unreal, grab the medium one, so copy reference, go back here, paste it, jump back to Unreal now. And here I'm going to grab the bigger one, so copy reference. Then I'm just going to go into instancing again and place it over here. So again, we're just placing the small, medium, and large ones. And we're just going to go ahead and hit save again. We're going to then here go to our tool and click rebuild. And we should probably see them, or in this case, we don't see them. So let's investigate a bit more on that. So here I can actually now see that we sort of like have a missing cube. So if we're going to go down to our output data, we're going to have our output for the roofs and we're going to have an output for my instancing. And we can see that here we have a mesh instancer, which is this cube, and it basically didn't know what to do with this. So we're going to have to double check on the system what happened with that, because it sort of like got lost. So if I would now, for example, would fill in my roof, let's pick roof 2 or something, we can see we're actually filling in that roof shape, but it still needs some tweaking. So let's go back to Houdini. So we have our data. So let's go here and see our data. And I think I already know what went wrong. So in this case, I just forgot to simply click here also output for game engines. So I'm going to just go and click on that. So make sure they're all enabled. So by default, the tool will output a instancing path, but if you use game engines, you're going to have to say use for Unreal or Unity. So let's take a look if that did the trick. And after rebuilding my tool, I can see that actually that did the trick. So we're now placing these models. So one thing I noticed here is they are facing in the wrong way. And that is something that we can quickly fix in Houdini as well. So either what you can do is you can use our instancing tool to, for example, here go to point transformations and we can go to rotations. And we can basically here, as you can see, we can rotate or spin the axis here. So we can spin that direction. Now, another way we can do this is we basically have calculated the normal position, which you can see here, we calculated to normal. So either we just flip the normal, or we can go into this instancing tool and also just do the spin. So there are just multiple ways on how we can do that. So for now, I'm just going to go and place a normal here in between. So normal, I'm going to say don't compute, just reverse the normal. So I'm going to also say reverse normal. I'm going to plug it in over here. And I'm going to go to assets, click save and check it out. So here again, click on rebuild and then we will see the result. And that's basically how I would expect it. And now we can have these buildings. As you can see, we have them now correctly here in the game with everything ready to go. So later you will find actually a demo project where everything is more laid out. This is like a simple representation of what the tool can do and how we can use it as well. Another thing we can do is if we look here at our roofs, we can also automatically assign different materials. So we can just use the material node. So and it will work the same as actually the instancing. So you're gonna have to go to a certain material. So maybe I just make a basic one as example. So I have a very basic material. Again, right click, get the reference. So then into Houdini, we can basically here use something which is called Unreal Material. So either I'm going to place it in this level, but I also have to place it in the other network as well. So here it will just again make an attribute, and we will have to copy paste the path in here, and I will copy paste the node to that other network here as well. We could also probably just like place it over here and like do it once. That will also work. But if you have IDs for like different materials and things like that, like for example here when we use the border, I can for example say I want a different material on the border, so you can have that. So again, this is setup, save and go back. So I'm going to click on my tool and rebuild. And now as you can see, it automatically assigns that basic roof color. So yeah, you can still see that here there might be some confliction between my actual model and my roof. That's why I also built in that transform to actually push down the roof a bit. So it actually does not intersect that much, because this can actually be a bit lower. What you can also do is you can like try to find a way to maybe have a more curved version of that, so it's actually a bit more smoothed out. Can also work. So again, at this stage, there's so much you can do with roofs. There's a lot of options you can do with roofs. But right now our tool is working. We can just play around with it. Like we can just tweak the boxes. I can now also start to merge the boxes into each other, as I mentioned. And as of course, we will now have a roof like this. So based on, again, what you will do, it will actually output a different roof style. So here, if I do it like so, we will have this roof. And if I would merge it, we would then have this roof. Even though if I would rotate it like so, you can see we will have a quite interesting roof shapes. I can play around with that. So you're going to have to like a bit careful with that and thoughtful on how we're going to approach some of these things. So that was it for these videos. So we have basically a functional building system that also here creates the roof part with some other elements here and there. So that was it for the series about making a building tool from scratch. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something from it. And for some of you, this might only be the beginning of your adventure into building tools, because from here you can take it to another level if you want to. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.